I'll try to show if all these things that have been recorded by you in 2017 have made a progress. Let's start. National Library of Greece. The past meets the future, a systemic approach. There are a convention for the colors and the fonts. Words in blue means that are of Greek origin. Blue and italics, bold and italics is concepts of system thinking. Blue, bold, and italics are both Greek origin and system. Let's go. Leophorion o Pothos in Greek was a Tennessee Williams play, a streetcar named The Future, not The Desire. For some people of the past, the future is simple. It looks like a streetcar, a bus, that they are waiting at the bus stop to take them somewhere. But for other people and organizations belonging to the future is more complex, more demanding, more in terms of thinking and in terms of action. They have to identify needs and recognize challenges, to design buses and build streetcars, to open avenues, to erect stations, to place stops, to train drivers, engineers, even passengers, and to organize routes, to transport the future to the future those that are waiting at the bus stop named the future. The object of the libraries. For some people and organizations of the past, the libraries has an object. They are dealing with books in the same form that we have met more than 5 centuries ago. For other people and organizations belonging to the future, the object of the libraries has been, is, and is likely to be continued to be the dissemination of human thoughts in the form of organizing the contained information, engaging in the process of discovery, learning, and ever new knowledge. Libraries of the 21st centuries, as it happened to all periods and epochs, have memories. A brief retrospective will help us to remember that people and organizations of the future existed already in the past, and to draw conclusions for our own present and mainly for our own future. New technologies of the past existed. During this period of time, 1890 until 1940, before the Second World War, the promising new technologies had the name of microphotography, microfilm, radio, and the newly emerging of television. Paul Otlet, respect. In 1934, he combines elements of what we could call today virtual reality, interactive TV, remote access, hypertext, hyperlinks, information retrieval and techniques, information technologies, search strategies, interconnected databases, database management systems, scholarly communication networks, multimedia, teleconferencing, and the modern concept of information dissemination. All, please let me quote, cinema, phonograph, radio, television. These tools that were considered as replacements for the book have in fact become the new book, the most powerful medium for the dissemination of human thought. With the radio, not only will anyone be able to listen, but also to speak. With television, not only will anyone be able to see what is happening and where, but anyone will be able to see what they want from their own perspective and interest. I continue. A device unaffected by distance, combining radio, X-ray, cinema, and microphotography at the same time. All things in the universe and all human things will be recorded from a distance as soon as they are created. This is how the moving image of the world is created, its memory, the copy of its truth. And continues to another treatise, another work. From a distance, anyone will be able to read any passage, extended or limited, to the subject of his interest, projected on his personal screen. 1934, 35. Thus, from the armchair, this armchair, anyone will be able to study the whole of the creation or particular parts of it. But not only Paul Otlet. Schurmeyer, the same year. What a revolution television could bring to information retrieval, and especially to libraries. Perhaps one day we will see our reading rooms deserted, and in their place a room without people, where books will be displayed, requested by telephone, not smart, but telephone, just telephone, and read by people in their homes on television screens. And this era was the new technology of microfilm. What about now? Conclusion: visionaries were not lacking in almost all period and societal and technological history of the libraries. What was perhaps lacking was the necessary conditions, and especially the appropriate technologies. The new information communication technology offer what was missing. The past meets the future. Living the present, we create the future. Don't forget it. Creating the future with system thinking approach. Why we need a methodology? Why we need a philosophical frame? Because we cannot create if we have not a frame. The properties of the digital information in a philosophical and also technical approach is needed, is mandatory to go on. National libraries. Missions. Challenges in the digital era. Some questions. The case of the National Library of Greece, why system thinking? Because during the previous decades, the field of libraries faces a fluid and dynamic situation. Because the position of the libraries can be considered as problematic or susceptible to improvements. But the characteristics of the solution is not clear, is not known, is not predetermined. Why system thinking? Because complexity. Because of the complexity of the relations among the factors that create, influence, subject, or poses the problem. Because of the high degree of uncertainty due to the transitional character of the technological period that we run. Because of the discontinuities. These kind of issues and factors dictate the exploitation of methodological tools like the system thinking in libraries of the future. Libraries and their collaborative schemes create hierarchies considered as open systems of purposeful human actions that interact with the subsystems of the environment in order to achieve their purposes. We need to reconsider critical issues. What is the purpose of the system named library? To specify emerging functions in order the mission to be fulfilled, expanding boundaries of the system named library. What are the boundaries of the hybrid library? What are the boundaries in a library without walls? Not the walls, of course. Environment of the system library. Emphasis has to be given to the technological environment. This is the cause of all the changes. And recognize interconnections of all the above. Identify feedback and re-answers the flow. I have to submit the personal views, not my own, of course, but what I present. Libraries are not dealing only with books. Libraries are dealing with data, information, and knowledge about or derived from books, journals, manuscripts, autographs, archives, bibliographies, periodicals, newspapers, posters, history, etc., ephemera, etc., etc., etc. Information is the object and the service that libraries are dealing with. The pattern of the Alexandrian library of concentrating all the available written, printed, recorded knowledge in one place does not correspond to the reality today, mainly because of the plethora of the rate and the rate of the development of the knowledge and the information, and consequently because of the economic restrictions that these factors imply. Nowadays, libraries are moving from acting isolated with acquisitions, concentration, and organization of information material locally to access to information sources globally. Interconnection and integration of the information systems and services through the operation and synergies of collaborative schemas, not single libraries alone. The future library sums as untold, and I insist, not only since 2017, but much earlier, is a global planetary mass grid of information sources, and the evolution of the information technology imposes the interdepartmental collaboration and the overstepping of geographical or scientific or political borders, though they exist. Libraries, acting as functionally autonomous entities within institutions, cede a part of their relative autonomy in order to solve problems in a higher hierarchy of organization, such as library networks, library consortia, for the most effective fulfillment of their mission. Library as a notion can be perceived as an open system which is influenced by many subsystems of the environment. Libraries make use of the technological tools that are available each period, like paper, parchments, cylinders, paper, books, typewriters, cards, microfilms, computers, networks, internet, smartphones, tablets, etc., etc. Information technology consists, although only one subsystem of the environment. During the previous centuries, dramatic changes took place in all subsystems. The uses are not the same. Political organizations have changed, society, economy, education, civilization, moral, and ethical values have changed. Have changed? Perhaps. Those changes affected the character of the library. We have new users, other ages, but it was the information technology that changed radically the mission of the library, the way that they work. Digital information, the new object, is the new object that the library is dealing with. We need to explore if this is true. We need to explore some of the unique, distinct features, properties, or characteristics of the notion information and the notion digital information that characterize the intangible and immaterial good with the name information and does not appear in other goods, products, or commodities. I will pass, with your patience, 31 properties, only reading the titles. Communication dependency, unconsumability, uncombativeness, multi-usability, personalization of information, multifaceted entities, multi-usefulness, spillovers, uniqueness, emergency of facets, reproduction cost, value-added susceptibility, non-linearity in production and linearity of reproduction. We are in the 10th. We start now mainly the properties of the digital information. So we take a breath. The Valianion Megalon, the building of the National Library in the center of Athens, and continue. Synchronous multi-usability to the digital information now. Technologically mediated access. Need for skills by the user. Release from spatio-temporal restrictions. Convergence of means, but in the same time, continuous versus interrupted periodical information flow. Groups of homogeneous units and finite sets of information entities. Dynamic form of digital information entities. Natural proximity versus distance between metadata and content. Interconnectivity of digital information entities. Speed of transmission, and of course, extent of transmission. 10 more. Direction of moving from user to information or from information to a user. Uniformity versus personalization of presentation of information. Variety and incompatibility of the various formats. But also convertibility of formats. Empirical character of the information goods. Having all these in mind, we now start to see if the mission of the National Library have changed. The mission are to identify in its library, every national library, identify, gather, concentrate, organize, describe, safeguard, preserve, and disseminate documents, information concerning the country. For this purpose, the national libraries cover 3 areas or 4 areas more. Legal deposit, everything that is published in the country, everything, almost everything, concerning the country and produced abroad. And third, selective works of the human intellectual achievements. And one more, coordinate, promote, advocate, guide the libraries of the country. Identify. Just to pass very quickly, I think I have 10 minutes, I'm sure. Internet archiving, web crawling, and web harvesting, new tasks for the national libraries. Gather and concentrate. The more analog printed documents are identified through the web, through the internet, the more natural storage and space is needed. A new library building is larger than the previous one that it replaces. The more digital documents that are identified, the more computer storage we need. And as hybrid libraries are not only books, digital documents need their space also. So technological dependencies turns national libraries into huge petabyte owners or administrators. Organize collections, not only in shelves, but also in repositories, in databases, in platforms, in national digital libraries. From isolated library catalog to collaborative master union catalog. From avoiding to repeat tasks and efforts by every single library to every single task from a library to be exploited repeatedly by all libraries that belongs to the collaborative schema. describe, interconnect with related works from AACR2 to FRBR and RDA. From standalone authority files, just online, static, to linked open data, enriching and exploiting the semantic web. Internet archive, use of artificial intelligence because of the vast size of the information instead of traditional human methods and technologies. Safeguard. Not all the conventional analog paper documents are yet safe. We passed to the digital era, but we have books. We have to save these books, the paper ones. Don't forget them. So preservation and conservation is needed. Saving through coordinated digitization, keeping safe through digitization, but for how long? For 8, 12, 20, or 14 years. Microfilms are still valid since the day of their invention, more than 123 or 25 years. What about the digital objects of the last 15 years? Preserve. That's why we say we need to have digital curation for long-term preservation of the digital documents. Need for multiple data centers, need for contribution, digitized aspects for and file checking, and continuous update. Now we pass to the organization that we are, the National Library of Greece. You will have this slide, so no reason to remember the numbers, but we have still all this achievement, only 640,000 entries in our catalog. It's a long way to be proud of it, of the representation of the Greek civilization. We have a long way to do. Personnel, currently, 160. I started with 40. Buildings, 4. I started with 3. First, we tried to make a legal base, legal foundation. NLG Foundation Act 2017 guarantees the future of the libraries, of the National Library. A new organization chart is to be approved, has been submitted, is under considerations with this kind of directors, and 26 departments and personnel and 37 specialties. A 5-year development plan, strategic development plan for the next 5 years to 2022-2026 is ready. There are 3 pillars. I'll pass very quickly. 7 actions and 122 projects that are waiting us to materialize. And we have established in 2014 the National Hellenic Libraries Network with the participation of public mainly libraries, but we belong also to the Academic Libraries Consortium. And the lending department that we created here in the National Library of Greece as a model for every public library in the country. Some moral, some ethical dimensions, open access is one of the dimensions that we have to keep. Unified information ecosystem, we have this in mind, and interconnectivity between all the kind of systems, and personalization in fulfillment the individual information needs, because there is not such a thing called the average user. Every user is his own. Collaboration, because of a syncretism, learning from the others and absorb and turn empirical evidences into theory and practice. That's why the old Greek works. Pillar 1, completion of all classic services of the developed National Library with a modern approach. Pillar 2, consolidate NLG as the leading library of the country with the other libraries. Number 3, establishment of NLG as an unsurpassed center for Greek studies internationally. These are screenshots of already implemented and operating systems. This is the authentication system we set up on 2017, and the same system, the same approach has been adopted by the Hellenic Republic, not by us, by our collaborations, partners. So tax system is the key number, cross-check with social security, and a PIN for the completion of the certification. The catalog of NLG, just press search and you find what you want. The e-reading room, the electronic reading, you have the opportunity to see by our colleague Efe Koufakou yesterday. The digital collection, the Union Catalog, a pilot project, again with about 50 libraries. The unified search of all the electronic information that we have, search nlg.gr. Another pilot, Greek newspapers, and some screenshots, not shots, some photographs from the preservation department, nitrogen generator, disinfection, box making machine for old books, rare books, and manuscripts, people that operate this kind, the digitization department, and more view. One of the 3 studios that we have with people that offer their services here, and students that record their newspapers or their radio production, future researchers, and of course the Greek libraries network all over the country, 255 for the moment. 30 of them are supported by our own budget to have their electronic catalog in governmental cloud infrastructure. The future of libraries, I conclude my presentation, is co-created by the collaboration of many people and organizations, large and small, old and new, aged and young, prominent and humble, recognizable and unknown. But all of them have something in common that characterizes them. They love what they are doing. R is missing. Much more than those, a few, who belong to the past, who find the stop ready and so simply get on the streetcar named the future. Thank you very much for your attention. The future is here, and for the present, the past has not yet been lost. Thank you very much.